Noriega 9 for 95. The Indian team, they still survive. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Janjurani, Solka Abidali, Dilip Sadesai and Vishwanath. They make West Indies bowlers look like second-raters when those fellows came out here to bat. West Indies try holder and keep voice. They had no other choice. They who tried with Newton Dow, but a shot and they're sorry they bring him now. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Desmond Lewis, also Charlie Davis, they take a little shame from out we face. But Sobers as a captain, he won plenty coaching before we cricket end up in a disgrace. Beatty here that he became a father, he catch out whole first in the cover. But when Sobers here, he too had a son. He made duck and went back in the pavilion. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all.
Good afternoon to the street, 91.9 FM. I'm the host, the umpire, standing umpire this afternoon, Ronaldo Rollocks. I'll be joined by the other umpires shortly, I'm sure. But I am thankful and I'm glad to be here on this Monday afternoon. And thank you for you, the pavilion members of this great esteemed station, the owners. I want to say thanks, and we always begin with thanks. For the opportunity to just engage the listening audience and the wider nation of Trinidad and Tobago on matters that, you know, they may find relatable, interesting, and they can provide some solutions. We don't know it all. No man is an island, and we do thank God for the opportunity to just chat with you for a couple hours and learn, exchange in the learning. You learn from me and I learn from you, and we edify each other. You know, there's enough old talk and parlor talk and street talk, you know, enough of that going around. You know, we and the Third Empire, we like the analysis, like the Third Empires. We like the reviews, we like the questions that ask, is this so? What does the technology say? What does a second and third look of the situation or the event say? Just don't tell me what is on the surface. We saw what happened with the ball, but is that really what happened? When we pull back the cameras, is there another view? And that is so important on the Third Empire, welcoming another view. Apart from the view, some of you have heard one view all your life. But the Third Empire encourages a multiplicity of views, you know, with which we can review any particular situation and event in this country. So I would really like to say thank you for calling and listening and participating. So today, July the 28th, the 28th of July 2025, and we have a lot to talk about today, and we will center our discussions around the attempted coup. I was just corrected in a conversation with a dear friend. And good evening, if she's listening, good evening to Miss Margaret Robinson, daughter of the late Honorable A.N.R. Robinson. Miss Margaret, good afternoon. And special good afternoon to you. Attempted coup, 1990, July the 27th. So it's 35 years since that attempted coup. We will talk after 5. We will talk to Mr. Fuad Barker. He will just have a little discussion with us and share his views on particular things that will come up into the second segment of the discussion. You know, he is a man who can articulate his own views, and we will have just a little talk and chat with him. So we have different things lined up on the program today, and we'd like all callers, as usually, keep it respectful, keep it on point, and keep it within refrain. You know, keep it on topic, whether you agree or not. I guess if you don't agree, you know, this is okay. But we want you all to stick to the topic, stick to the discussion, share what you have to share, and so that we can learn from each other and we can make this a learning experience. And I read, veteran journalist Dominic Kaliprasad, who was the face on air during the 1990 attempted coup, says he's tired of retelling a story that continues to be ignored by those in authority. I'm tired talking about it, he says. The people at Trinidad and Tobago Television, TTT, for those of you who are familiar, and at Radio Trinidad, who were held hostage, none of them politicians, only mere workers, were ignored after the attempted coup. No sympathy, no empathy, no recognition for their courage and bravery during the 6 life-threatening days of trauma. Not even psychological therapy, not even for their families who were also traumatized. Kaliprasad said former TTT head Jones P. Madeira, who played a critical role in protecting others, received no formal acknowledgement before his death. 35 years later, Jones P. Madeira, who put his life on the line to save our lives, died without any official recognition for his gallantry. Raul Pantin died psychologically compromised. Some others never recovered. He questioned the value of the annual commemorations if civilian contributions are ignored. If the authorities refuse to honor those civilians who stood up for democracy, only offer some annual insincere rhetoric, what's the point of rehashing hurtful memories, he added. Praise the regiment, the police service, and all the politicians who created an amnesty that helped the insurgents go free. They deserve it. The history will be written without the workers' stories. We'll continue to move on with our lives and contribute to our beloved nation without their care. In the meantime, I'm tired of the annual old talk. And I am also intimately aware that there are others who have the same sentiment. You're in any struggle, in any issue in society, any, phenomena that faces us, sometimes we tend to forget the little man. We try as much as we can, but we forget the ordinary man. We forget the ordinary man. And there's an African proverb that says, until the lion learns to speak, the story of the hunt will always be told by the hunter. Bear that in mind. So, a lot has been said and posted and discussed, and commission of inquiry and a lot of different things. But here is Dominic Kali-Prasad, a very humble, well-known journalist, especially of that era. You couldn't see the news. I mean, he's a veteran journalist in his own right, by distinction, I would add. And he has a plight that says that we have forgotten the views and the roles that ordinary men, not the military men, not the trained policemen, they deserve their honor, not the military men, not the politicians, etc. We have heard their stories. We've all heard what they have done, and they have received their flowers. What about the ordinary men? And more so, their families. And you know, it was interesting that he did include their families. The newspaper, first victim of 1990, P.C. Solomon, family praises cops presence at tribute. So that's in the newspaper today, in your the match report. But getting back to Mr. Kali-Prasad's comments, we have somehow neglectfully forgot the contributions, the experiences of the ordinary people. And yes, we do honor the others, and it's not one versus the other. That is not the view we espouse. And that's, I don't think, what he was trying to say in his article. He was just lamenting the fact that nothing tangible seems to have been done for the ordinary workers, because it was a insurgency that people were on their jobs. Parliamentarians were at work, but other workers were at work too. The people at TTT were at work, you know. And now we have OSHA, duty of care of employer, etc., for incidents that happened at work. And this was well before that time, but it is, I wonder if it's surprisingly strange, I wonder if I can use that word, that we have failed to honor the people on the ground. The people on the ground. I do know, as I was about to say a while ago, that even some law enforcement people have never been honored, even in very tangible ways, even with their medical bills. I mean, and they were injured in duty and in due course of what they were doing in and around that time. And that cannot go without mention. Say what you want, you know, the things we discuss about the attempted coup sometimes are sometimes so tribal and banal and clandestine and filled with acrimony and accusations left, right, and center, and we never get to the bottom of it. But we always forget the contributions of the workers. The workers. Indeed, I mean, Mr. Kali-Prasad did not analyze it that way. The policemen and the military men who were there, they were working to where they weren't partying. But we're talking about the ordinary workers, not those employed in defense of their country. The ordinary workers who were victims, or, you know, innocent victims of this horrible experience and what was done for them. Counseling, he mentions that, or for their families. I don't know, that 6 day, it must have been an ordeal of some kind. So to hear that, all the old talk about we love the country and we laying wreath and we're doing all the antics, we have forgotten the contribution of the workers, of the ordinary men, ordinary worker that went to work that day, that fateful day, and was caught in the middle of what would be an attempted coup, and 6 days following, or 5 days thereafter, 6 days in total, of this hostage situation, etc. So we're going to take this conversation in segments. So the first question I want you to consider, the pavilion, when you call me on 3420081 466-5391. Tell me where you were. Tell me where were you July the 27th, 1990. You were at a party, you were home, you were at work, you were sleeping. Where were you July 1990, July the 27th, 1990? Tell me where you were. And then that obviously you would tell me, you know, how you felt when you heard or what, etc., etc. 3420081. Call me in 466. We have a caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Doctor. Well, I am at the time we was working in Marbella. So by the time I reached home is when I got the news. There was nothing on the radio at the time. But when I got when I reached home, my grandmother brings everything in of what was going on.
Yes.
So it's a real shock. I think I reached home 5:30. So I was real crazy.
You say you were in Marabella? You were at work or something?
Yeah, I was working, and that when I was working with that wholesaler, it actually insisted because most of the groceries are closed.
Yes.
And I was able to get some food items from where I was working, like, you know, for they had rice and peas and beans and preserved meat like pigtail and ribs and beef and all sorts of things. We was able to get these things, and we had a good boss, give advance on the problem. And we even was able to work at a certain time, work through the night, you know.
Right.
So,
thanks for calling. Thanks, caller. Thanks for sharing. Keep in tune. We have more to discuss. So he was at work and he was on his way home. Apparently, so he was able to grab some stuff. So call me 3420081 466-5391. July the 27th, 1990. Where were you? You were by a pool. You were closing the fridge door. You were on the street playing a game of card. You were playing a little all fours. You went on lunch. Where were you July the 27th, 1990? That's what we want to know. We want to know where you were at the time, and therefore, obviously, well, the sentiments that followed. You know, some of us, I know, may not want to say where we were, but it's okay. Call us on 3420081 and 466-5391. Mr. President. Mr. President, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, my way. Good afternoon, Mr. Mr. Power. I want to give you some different taxes.
You're going soft, the president. We need you.
Yeah.
Good. Pop the volume on your phone if you can.
No, it's up there.
Right, beautiful.
Like I was too far. All right, yeah. So Well, in little moments, I want to give all you some little titles, So because all you have to be prominent and have titles to make those titles help all you to move forward. And even the program all around put a council behind all your name, the Third Empire Council, because all you had to do what is necessary after the inspiration I get. I telling the truth as the one single mind in this world that's seeing the direction of the street. You had a program when it was Friday, but your program was boss. When you bring out all the in the ministry now, help me with that word there quick. The boards.
Yes.
Yeah, brother, you had a real conversation. You had some people who helped you to bring in the truth. I go get back because I decided ready to come back to it. I didn't want on the program Friday, but when I went in on the internet and looked back at the program that you had, it even linked with the program Saturday that we just talked to, that Dr. David Mohammed, here now, man. Two of you had a blend of conversation there that put a certain story over Trinidad and Tobago. You see that board you're talking about? I will go by the board because I will be talking about. Leave David alone for a while because I have my thoughts for David. That was a serious thing that he came in with. But let me go at the boards. That I learned something. I learned something that many of us don't know. Now, the parliament does give a direction to the board. But the board is at when we talk about board, we just the phrase I understand and what I hear, you're talking for the longest while that is heard.
Prezi, did you hear the question we asked at the beginning of the program?
No, well, I know you're talking about basically you're going on the imam on 1990.
Yeah, I want to know. I thought you called me to tell me where you were.
All right,
you want to know where were you?
All right, okay.
Tell me.
Let me drift because I had a thought to hand.
Yes, I'll pick you back up on that board thing. We're doing that on Wednesday.
Let me go in the 1990.
Yes, tell me, where were you?
All right. Respect. I appreciate that. I move on a thought. Okay, so 1990. I was in a parlor when the bacchanal happened the night.
Right.
What I could remember that the Scotch drug report I read. I can't remember the age I was, but I was into now getting into politics and I was doing something, but my mind was young still. And when I don't know. I don't think anything that happened before. You see that Scotch drug report? That turned up the place. That call names. You see plenty of people that don't really go at the philosophy, I think. Whatever might have been happening all before, it had a turn up because people was disgusted. It had the Indian section, it had the Dramat section, it had the government Robinson. And he had a bacchanal all between there because Robbie and all he did having a kind of, I don't know what it was. I can't say. I wasn't deep in like how the brother Abu Bakr did know what he know. And even David Mohammed. Oh, that fella know the papa. They wouldn't pelt out the hard shots because they had to keep themselves what truth and truth. You see that Scotch dog report? When that wake up, that call name, I remember two names are going to call just so. That Scotch dog called the boss name, they called Abu, and they also called American name. And then, after when, the Abu went up on the stage now, and he's boss now, because he managed to call out the army just because he said the army with him. I can't remember that day, the army with the Iron Line. The army come out from which part they come out and help the scene because no, you can't do that to the army. And you see, people just talk, but it's people that have a mouth that is put their own self in trouble. I remember that. Oh, nobody ever tell me. If I'm wrong, pull up all their cards. But it's a thing. It is hard. Quarrel is make cutlass and gun when you make a move. But then it was a Scotch drug. How much people remember that now? How much people understand the corruption that we in through that Scotch drug report? And yet, the process of crime and corruption still continues. I'll leave it there because I really want to talk about the boards, because you're bringing something. We'll talk definitely. But
Yeah, we will talk that on Wednesday. So, thanks for sharing, Prezi.
Yeah, they have a thing. We try in our life here that we're going down and we go try to see how we could make it up to better thing. And knowledge is the greatest key. Let me be truthful and bring knowledge that could help you to grow.
No problem, Prezi. Thank you. So, Prezi said he was in a parlor. Where were you on the 27th of July, 1990? Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Did you say BNTC?
No.
No, I applied the wrong number.
No problem. Tell us where you were July the 27th, 1990. Call us 342-0081. 466-5391. You know, some of us hear what happened, some of us saw it live on TV. You know, the little that we saw, some of us might have been in Port of Spain or environs of TTT. I don't know what that would like. I was too young to. I was in school. I was at school age. So, you know, I still remember it, but those of you who are a little more mature and older may have been part of the working population at that time. So there might have been a lot of chaos at that point in time when you heard of this attempted coup. Hello, caller. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Now, why is it bad thing? They don't teach these things in school, you know.
Correct.
That is sad because I remember when I was taking my degree, the teacher asked if the people know who's Dennis Granger.
Huh.
I was the only man, raised my hand. They said, well, maybe you know them by Mackenzie Daga. Nobody know nothing. So, what history we learning?
Columbus.
You find that too far? What about the recent history? You know what they say?
Yeah, who is teaching that?
People who don't know the history is doomed to repeat it.
Correct. So,
So
caller, tell me, where were you around that time, July 27th? You remember?
No, that's all I tell you that I was on my way from work.
Right.
Down in South Side.
Wow.
You know, so that it only affected us later down.
Right.
You know, when there's a lot of shooting, some people got shot. They tried to raid across the highway, and the army boys were just taking target practice. People don't know about some of these things that happen.
Wow.
People don't know how many people got killed, you know.
Wow.
For looting.
For looting. Correct.
Where people got killed.
Wow.
They run across and they were stealing all different other items from different businesses across the highway at different locations.
Yes.
Like all Singer and Sean.
Huh.
That was on Bungie Road at the time.
Singer. Huh.
Yeah, there was a Singer outlet in Bungie Road.
Correct.
And they raided that place, the thief, everything. They had a freezer, stove, everything. The people steal, like, going out of style. And a man got shot in his leg, passed right in front by us, and asked if we wanted any of the milk that he had on his head, because he had about 10 cases. I told him it's I bought, because I was living with my grandmother.
Right.
And you can't carry nothing stolen by my grandmother.
Oh, Lord.
You have to sleep outside.
Yes. So they're reading Singer. And what would I get in Singer then if they're reading Singer? Tell me.
Well, that time they had the home items,
right,
appliances,
right,
fridge, stove, TV, sewing machines, small circles, everything. You know, the empty place. And across the highway, they stole milk and the powder milk and all these different things. Wow. They raided a grocery. and smart people and them. they stole a whole bag with left side slippers. Serious thing. You know, so it was a wild time of sadness.
That's right.
Because, as I said, many people died.
Yes.
And maybe if it was not in the wilderness, they would not have died.
Right. Right.
So this is why we need to teach these things in school, so that if something like that happens again, the citizenry will not get caught up and lose their lives.
Yes.
Because this time it will be worse, much worse. Because I know the police are more equipped now.
Yes.
Because at that time, many of the firearms that the police had were not functional, from my understanding.
Right.
A couple of them went away to try and hide, like your partner, and we end up saying that they come and they find him quite down in the forest by his grandmother.
Right.
And pull him up. You know, so these were some of the things that people don't know, and they need to know. We need to start teaching these things in school. It is our history. We need to know.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day. And I want to say welcome to my senior umpire, Mr. Matheson. Mr. Matheson, July 27th, you remember? You went for singer too? You went for fridge?
No. I didn't go for anything. I wasn't a Tobago at the time.
Right.
When that happened. But, you know, in discussing or in analyzing periods like July 27th, we sometimes have to ask the question, what did we learn?
Yes.
From it, one. And two, you know, our next umpire here, he always say, you know, sometimes to fix something is how to break it down.
Yes.
And just fix it over, start it over. The question, the answer, or the question is, did that happen?
Yes.
Because obviously that would have happened for a particular reason. And I've heard a lot of commentators on it over the years.
Yes.
But I don't think that we really got the real essence of what took place, that is Trinidad and Tobago. Because all over the world you have revolution, and most of the time when you have revolution, significant changes take place. If you look at Martin Luther King, you have upheavals all the time.
Yes.
From time to time, and things need changing.
Yes.
When the society have reached a certain boiling point, things happen. Sometimes you can't prevent it.
Yes.
You could at least have a good idea when it would happen, or if it could happen, or what are the ingredients that would make it happen.
Yes.
And in times like these, we have to start to think, what changes took place? What did we get from it? And what are we doing as a society to prevent things, or to prevent that kind of era reoccurring?
Yes. Well, you spelled out the show nicely, because that's actually what we're going to do. In a second hour, I announced that after 5, just after 5, we'll speak to Mr. Fuad Barker.
Right.
He will give us a view and take us into that discussion about lesson learned and views and etc. on the issue. So for now, we're asking members of the pavilion, where were you? We hear a guy was close to singer. One guy was in a Percy said he was in a parlor when it happened. The next guy said he was close to work. So we have a next caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Very interesting topic. Well, what happened to me on that day, it was a bright day, sunny day, but the atmosphere was kind of quiet, kind of strange that day. So I was working in San Fernando at the time. So I went and I took a little line, and I left San Fernando around maybe after about 2:03. Traveling, and I had no vehicle at the time. I traveled in a blue bus, PTSD. When I reached by Monclo Hospital within the bus, something talking to me and say, "Here, what's happening? Go home or go in town in the Red House and listen what's going on down there." about 3 times this thing went through my mind. But I remember one of my colleagues said, "Go home straight," you know. So I eventually decided to go home straight. Right, I reached home now, and I went and take a 5. So I was living opposite her back. Around 5 o'clock, I hear people making noise, and they calling out and saying, it have bacchanal in town, it have bacchanal fire and all kind of thing. So I came and I put on my TV, on a black and white TV, my first TV I ever bought for myself. When the news time come, but before the news, I was only hearing songs by Watchman and Crow. I said, but where is that? How the news are coming on? And eventually news came on with I think Jones P. Madeira, and one of the Muslimin or 2 people there on the screen, and I think the Imam was saying that the government had fallen, right? And well, it just went on so until the morning when I think they had blocked the TV transmission from wherever the transmitters are out there. The police, I believe, had done that. But the thing is, it was a Friday, and being a monthly paid officer at the time, the Monday was supposed to be the payday, which was the second to last working day in the month. But I get caught up in this school now, in this attempted school now, and all I have is some right figure. So I write fig Saturday, Sunday, Monday, yeah. And I was able to survive. Well, I told myself maybe I'm a bird at the time. I ate right fig until when we was able to, clearance was obtained to go to the bank and people could have gotten their salary. And I'm sure lots of people would have had similar circumstance because of the timing. Yeah. So I remember it, and I lived through it, and that's another of my experiences. I can say, well, I wasn't no thing, but the problem is, if I'd gone to the parliament, one of my friends was a driver there for one of the members of parliament, he was killed, and it was here I was going to meet him.
Wow.
Lord. So it was a divine intervention, because I almost sure I would have been a statistic if I'd gone down there. And that spirit told me about 3 times when I reached by the hospital in Mount Toga for the bus to turn down the washroom to go home, go in town, and then I remember the police officer. Yeah? Hello?
No, go ahead, caller, go ahead.
Yeah. No, so it really says it pays to follow your spirit and your mind sometimes. Eh? Because as I was saying, I almost all have been a statistic that day. So that's all I have to say for the while.
Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll get into more.
Okay, good.
Caller, good afternoon.
Hey, a good day to my brothers.
Good afternoon.
Well, I was on the way to the stadium at a football game. I can't remember who was playing.
Correct.
Yes. It did have a football game.
Strike squad.
Yeah. I think
right.
Yeah.
And when we passing by the wharf there, the guy at the boys have fire in town. So the driver said the only place that fire could be but for the scene is the warehouse. And I'm telling everybody, the warehouse started burning, and we are not burning the stadium. And after we was in the stadium, then we hear what's going on. Come back up. You understand? We leave the stadium, we went home. So, we go and do a little hustle, What I'm saying now?
Yes.
Get full stuff. But what the whole thing about this, all them stores and them in town ensure. Why says the police was going back in people's house and demanding things?
To take it.
That is what happened to be. You understand? No, why? I mean, come on. There's a coup going on. People don't know how to do it again the next meal from because some people are coming outside. We had to blow up a van from over the highway, a pickup, and coming through Battara. The whole under the pickup was so heavy that all the oil the oil pan ended up bursting and things like that. People come out from Battara. I'm talking about decent poor people who are coming outside, come out and try to buy items from me. You understand? That's how the thing was. But
yes.
As I say again, why it is the police and them was coming back in people's house and taking back things? To do what? That is the whole thing I hope back for me. My friend have a good day.
All right, thanks. Thanks, caller. So, they had qualified that the police should have leave them where they take. Loot items. But Stephen, the caller make a good point before. He said July the 27th would have been month end. So, workers would have been accessing pay You know, I never, well, I mean, I was a schoolboy them time. I didn't have that as a issue. But that would have been a busy work time.
Yeah, that was, I was holidaying in Tobago at the time. I remember that I was going UWE in them days.
Right.
And that was something else. I mean, a Rastaman meet me on a hill.
Yeah.
I was driving up a hill. Rastaman say, "Hey, you know, I can't go back to lad." I said, "What do you mean we can't go back to lad?" He said, "Boy, you don't take over." When we go on home now,
Yes.
the night in the hotel, we put on the TV. You see Abu Bakr on TV with a
Yes.
gun. TTT.
Let me get this
The
call.
government have been overthrown.
Caller, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon
Good afternoon, ma'am.
to the umpires.
Yes.
I was at home, but people, listen to me. You see the quote you said at the beginning, Mr. Rollick?
Yes.
Could you repeat that for me?
The quote says, until
what?
the lion learns to
Until?
speak, the story will always be told from the view of the hunter.
Right. And that is what you'll be getting, okay? The hunter, the lion is not speaking. Or when you hear the lion, that is the truth.
Yeah.
Well, we
I
will be
heard
having
a
the
guy
lion.
said
We'll be
I
having
heard a
the.
guy said something.
We'll
about
be
police.
having one of the lioness. No, not the lioness. We'll have
yeah,
one of the
cubs.
young lion, the
Yeah.
cubs.
But what I'm trying to tell you, go ahead, cut me one else here. What I was trying to tell you, the police, let me tell you something, the day that happened, there was no police in Trinidad. Our whole security was, the police was stealing. It's they who drove their trucks and took out in the police, police took their bands. It didn't have, listen to me. There wasn't any police in the police station. I'm telling you, they run the whole country was left with their pants down.
So it was anarchy then?
National security.
Was anarchy?
By the whole. But what I am trying to tell you, no police ain't coming nobody home unless it's to bring goods. Because people got goods whether they want it or not. The police, because I live opposite a police station, and they were the ones helping us bringing things months after people give it the bowls of cloth, the TV. A lady didn't.
So we had a special inquiry for that then.
You don't know, because as the commissioner said, we had a commission of inquiry when that happened 25 years after. The commissioners who came down from England, they were foolish as this. 25 years, a coup. Your whole country was flattened. People like, well, oh God, they're dead, who died. Like it was a big thing for, I'm not saying the people who died, I think it wasn't tragic. And as Dominic said, he said we should have been concentrating on those people,
Yes.
the ordinary people who their lives were at stake, not those, the army, all this kind of thing. They will, if you listen to the Commission of Inquiry, I said I don't want to listen to the whole thing. If you listen, the people in the army, check it out. They know, I didn't know, I couldn't, they're trying to wrong out this one, and they were getting on like babies. Right? So anyway, what I'm telling you, that quote is what will carry me. That will, and when Abu Bakr's son come, then you could get something like, although he would have been 4 or 5 or 10 or how much, I don't know.
Yes, he will
I
say
don't
true.
know how old he is now.
Yes.
Because it's 35 years ago.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The challenge is that that incident would have taken place at a time in our history when we had different views on governance, because we came out of a period from 1962 to the time of the coup, almost the time of the coup.
1990 was the coup.
Well, 1990 was the coup, but at that
Things
period,
that
period, we were run by one particular party for many years until 1986. And,
right, and that was,
after that,
yes, and it will be,
we had a change in governance, and that change, people were fed with the same kind of diatribe that they were fed with by the party that was in opposition, and therefore there was a particular kind of feeling and a particular kind of view at the time that, you know, the dependency, that kind of syndrome was rife in the country at the time. So you find that it was easy for something like that to happen.
Yes. Because, it was the right time for a coup, and they had nobody to bear the cap.
Right.
Because when poor Abu looked around, nobody was behind him.
Right.
So what you talk about, regardless of how the country was, right? Everybody talk, and they listened and thing. And when he did what he had to do, he was.
So we have to go for a break now, but we will be coming back shortly.
And so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Come shop at the biggest African market in the Caribbean with its African-inspired art, craft, jewelry, clothing, books, delicious food. We're at the Queen's Park Savannah, transformed into the Lidjasu Omuale Emancipation Village for the 2025 Pan-African Festival TT, commemorating emancipation, July 25th to August 1st. Also, enjoy jazz, pan, calypso, reggae, dance, drumming, art exhibits, and for the children, the African Heritage Camp and workshops. The village opens 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Free admission before 3 p.m. Just $40 after. Kids under 12, free all day. Bring your family, your friends, your vibes, and let's celebrate the 187th anniversary of emancipation, our heritage and future together. The Emancipation Support Committee, shaping sustainable futures through reparatory justice.
When your corporate event needs more than just food, it needs an experience, a Michelin experience. From mouth-watering buffet spreads to beautiful packed takeaway boxes, the Michelin Experience Limited delivers more than just wheels. We deliver flavor. We deliver satisfaction. We deliver excellence straight to your boardroom. Whether it's a conference, board meeting, or a retirement function, go beyond basic. Go bold. Go Michelin Experience Limited. Call us now at 1-868-474-2250 or follow us on social media at Michelin Experience. Great food, exceptional service every time.
If you love summer and you love pizza, then you'll love Pizza Hut's all-you-can-eat summer. Head to the Hut for our big buffet every day. Then simply upload your receipt to our social media pages for a chance to win a PlayStation 5, a 5-island cabana experience for you and 9 friends, and so much more. Check our socials for details. Pizza Hut, now that's delivering.
Looking for a preschool for your child? Well, look no further. At Leaping Learners Preschool, we believe that every child deserves a jumpstart to success in a safe and loving environment. We prepare your little ones for primary school while giving them the care and attention they deserve, whether they're 3 or 7 years old. At Leaping Learners Preschool, we cater to children with special needs and provide long hours of care from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. so you can rest easy knowing your child is in good hands. And for our tiniest learners, babies aged 3 months to 2 years, we offer nurturing daycare services to help them grow and thrive. Join the Leaping Learners family today. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Leaping Learners Preschool or visit our website at leapinglearnerstt.com to learn more. We are located in Barataria. Called 744-1523. That's 744-1523. Your child's future begins with a leap.
This isn't just a bottle, it's a moment. Coca-Cola is asking you to come out on August 2nd at Shops at West City Canaan, 12 to 5 p.m. and customize your Coke. Can't find your name in stores? We'll print it. More info on Instagram and Facebook at Caribbean Bottlers TT.
We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. Play way fast cash, that is the fit. We rollin' big. Fast cash and play way take win. No extra spend, just vibes and luck. Play way and fast cash turn up. We rollin', yes we rollin' big. Fast cash and play way take win.
$10,000 have now been added to NLCB's Playway and Fast Cash games. Wager on Playway Mega Mix or Fast Cash Monster Draw for a chance to win the jackpot after every draw. Don't miss out. Visit NLCBgames.com for details. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly.
Ikaro, I am Alatumishe Ifabamishe Aganki, better known as MC Duke. And
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight,
I host a show called Orisha, The Way of Life, right here on the Street 919 FM, where I have guests passing through from the Orisha Ifa Baptist Diaspora to educate, edify, and inform you, the listening public, about Orisha Ifa practices. So remember to tune in
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight
for Orisha, The Way of Life.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Here my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Tune in to the Street 919 FM every Friday from 9:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. with Kingdom Health Services, situated at number 125 to 186 Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna. For the program, Health and Healing, merging the old with the new, with Mr. Brent Diet. For more information, call 318-7471 or 484-0141 or 360-4100. It's all about Kingdom Health Services on the Street 919 FM.
Join the winning team with Pastor Alkaline John
every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and every Thursday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
live on the Street 919 FM as he talks about Lviv, the power of 5 fruits, one of the most powerful antioxidant supplements on the market today. The 5 superfruits in Lviv are mangosteen, acai, pomegranate, goji, and nuni. These fruits have a positive and profound impact on human health performance and disease. Join him as he gives live testimonials of the Lviv healing powers. To get more information, you can contact Pastor Alkaline John at 516-286-7079 or you can visit his webpage at www.alkalinejohn.com. Remember,
every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and every Thursday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
live on the Street 919 FM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
United together, come together, stronger together, unite together, united together, come together, stronger together, unite together, united together, come together, stronger together, unite together, united together, come together, stronger together. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other. Help one another, pray for each other. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other, help one another, pray for each other. Tell my people gather together, together. When Africans gather together, together, we become more stronger, and we will have the victory. We will have the victory. When Africans gather together, together. When stronger, and we will have the victory. We will have the victory. Let us stop killing each other. Respect and love one another. Uplift and help out each other, and rebuild our families. Rebuild our families. Let us stop killing each other. Respect and love one another. Uplift and help out each other, and rebuild our community. Rebuild our communities. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other, help one another, pray for each other. Emancipate yourself from all of the mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from all the bad mind and envy. Africans must love each other, help one another, pray for each other.
And we're back. We're back on Street 91.9 FM, and we're talking about the attempted coup July 1990. July the 27th, 1990, and we were talking to different guests, and who the people from South look like they had a different experience.
And Tobago.
And Tobago, and rightly so. And we are waiting the call of one of our guests. He will share.
But what is your position on the coup? I know we were both young. I older than you. What's your position on what you think would have happened as a student of politics also?
Well, I mean, it is. Well, let me put it this way. If you want to kill something, put it before a commission of inquiry. That, to me, is one of the most salient things.
Okay.
And I've subsequently seen...
Like all the kill the reasons why the divers died?
Yes. Okay. If you want to kill something, and it's funny, because it's so paradoxical, you think coming out of these things, you'll have big action and
you want to know what really happened.
A lot of issues.
Of course.
But sometimes these inquiries tend to leave us a little more confused than even before. You know, some of the facts become more and more murky when these inquiries take place. So that's the first thing I surmise looking back at the events of July the 27th, 1990.
Yeah, you made a statement on your opening. Make it again.
About what?
Our lion and the
Until the lion learns to talk, the story will always be told from the view of the hunter.
And that is apart from prolific, that is so poignant.
Yeah.
That people need to understand that, and it happens with everything. The police shoot you, they say they put something on you or whatever. They say you're shooting at them. All that kind of thing. Now, all these things. If you look at what happened what happened before July 27, 1990, you would understand that there must have been something taking place. And I've heard a lot of stories from both sides as to what was the prevailing issues, what would have caused Abu Bakr to bear arm against the state and that kind of thing. And all of them sound like they have some relevance to it. I would certainly like to hear what probably some person who was involved in that, who was there, who was probably part of the mastermind and the whole thing, what would have happened, because I have my own ideas. I don't necessarily want to say what they are, but a lot of people, as a matter of fact, have their own ideas as to what happened and what would have happened. And somehow it had some politics involved in it, and some political involvement by parties who was opposed to certain things.
Yes, let me see if we can get Mr. Fuad.
So the whole idea behind, if we understand the catalyst,
yes,
for things like these, we would understand that we would understand what we should or shouldn't do, or how we should, not just the security apparatus, but how we should configure society so that these kind of, we could have a more fair, just, more a society where people feel that they don't have the need to do things like these, right?
Yes.
And that is something that we should be taken out of the coup, or that particular attempted coup.
Yes. Let me answer this caller. Caller, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, here's what we have talked about. The country was in a recession.
Right.
We had something called negative list.
Right.
Because we had gone to the IMF. So many people had lost their jobs. Crime was starting to become on the rise. Mr. Baka had offered a number of suggestions. He even offered to purchase a helicopter to assist in the arresting of the crime situation. And he was declined. And apparently, the embarrassment of that caused a little action on his premises where they were located. And they went and took it over. And there was because of that combination of events, this whole coup took place. Unfortunately, instead of the people unite like was what will happen in 1970, because I was very honest for 1970 as well. The people in 1970 were united based on what took place in Canada with the oppression against the black students.
As the Sir George Williams University.
Yeah, and so that came down there
1969
as a unification, and then we started to see people notice. And this is to understand why that don't happen. Normally all revolutions start from universities, because when people get more educated, they recognize the oppression and the lies that are being told to them by those that are in power.
Correct.
Unfortunately, we have a racial divide which prevents that from ever happening again. You understand? Because there's no more unification of the people. There's nobody banding together for one purpose. So Mr. Baka made an out in regard to that, thinking that because everyone was suffering, they would have joined in. But by that time, we have become too selfish. So everybody was on their own feet. I want for me alone. And there was where it is, we had all the looting. In 1970, there wasn't any looting, you know. But it had more bloodshed. But there wasn't the looting that we had there because the people did not become as selfish in 70 as they did in 90. And even if they have one now, it would end up in the same result because of the selfishness of the people. It has gotten worse. But I wanted to deviate a little second to that. Recently, because of the job that I do, there's a proliferation and increase exponentially by these guys going around and trying to kidnap Venezuelan women to rape and kill. As this is the sixth woman that I had to speak with that they have tried to own today. They tried again. These guys are so disgusting and sickening. They don't even have money to go and get with a prostitute. You looking to rape? What kind of waste of time, man, is nowadays, boy? No, the men and them is really weird. I don't even know if it is they deserve a life. First, they're disgusting. You want to drag a woman off the street to Christ in your car and rape? But that is what you get a car to do? Instead of you look to make a little muscle and pull bull and make $1. Although I don't support pulling bull, but it's much better than looking to rape a woman. They're disgusted. And I have no pity for when things take place that they get eradicated. And if they continue like this, black, I said it years ago, black people will end up on a negative list, whereas they saw anybody see them, that will be the end of them. It's coming to that kind of mentality in the country now.
Wow.
Because they're not listening. The people are not listening. The youths are not changing their ways. So they will be like us. You know what is called? When it is the endangered species.
Yeah.
They will be on the endangered species if they continue the way how they are going.
Thanks,
so
Paul.
Start to talk to the people who listen.
Yes.
To talk to the children. To stop the stupidity of the crime in this country.
Okay.
It's hard to stop. It's hard to stop.
Thanks, caller. Thanks for your contribution. Good contribution. Let's see if we get Mr. back on the line.
Yeah, so as I was saying that the...
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon, Fuad.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm here with Mr. Matteson, Stephen Matteson.
How are you going, Fred?
Yes.
Yes, so we're reflecting on 1990 events, and we don't need to take it any particular direction. I would want you to speak from your reflection, from your understanding. What are the takeaways, drawbacks from you? You can talk.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have no problem being led if there is anything.
Yeah, any question we will ask, but you could go ahead.
So Fred, what would you say was the because I mean, Abubakar was your father, or was your father, right? What would you say was the one thing that would have driven him to corral the other men that was part of the coup to lead a situation or an attempted coup in Trinidad and Tobago?
So the predominant emotion that I would ascribe to my father that drove not just his actions in 1990 and around that period, but even his actions before that and until his last day was love. If I could use any word to describe his true emotion, it was love. He was always a man who had that warmth for people, who was willing to go the extra mile for anyone. He was very strong in his belief and his faith, and that always came through in the way that he lived his life. So I'm listening to something that was interesting last night. I had never heard it before, but it's a compilation of radio calls and interviews during the period of July 27th to August the 1st, 1990. And, you know, I was listening to the entire thing. I was gripped by it, so it took me about an hour to go through the entire thing. And there were a number of times in which my father spoke to the population of Trinidad and Tobago, and he was actually somewhat interviewed by Mr. Dennis Mokomi as well, just during that period of time while he was in TTT, while they were in that position of, responsibility, because at that point he had announced that he had taken over the country, etc., and what he wanted out of his actions as well. And he repeated a number of times that his actions were for Trinidad and Tobago. He really spelt out the situation personally with the land situation at number 1 Mokorap Road at that point in time, and the occupation by the army, and that level of oppression that they felt strongly against. But he even went wider to speak about, the political climate at that point in time, and outlined, that the true representatives who were elected by the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and he called names, Mr. Basio Pandey, Mr. Kevin Ramnat, Mr. John Humphrey, that they were sidelined by Mr. Robinson, and that did not really reflect democracy. And at one point he was challenged by Mr. Mokomi, who asked, listen, can I ask you some questions? And my father said yes. And he said, listen, we have a democracy, and, this is not in line with what we are accustomed to in terms of democracy. And, my father, of course, would have outlined, listen, I understand that, but where was democracy when the army refused to move from our premises?
So would you ascribe, would you say that what your father would have done at the time was in essence more symbolic to the cause than, say, what President Traore would have done in Burkina Faso in taking over the country by a coup? And forming a government, so to speak, and running the country then from then on. Was it that your father was intention was to form a government if successful in the coup?
Not at all. I think it is repeated on numerous occasions by him verbatim during the coup that he had no intention to lead and govern Trinidad and Tobago himself. He would have repeated on numerous occasions that there would be new elections in 90 days, and the people would have their desire electorally to choose. He said that even the actions of the coup itself, he said he felt as though the majority of Trinbagonians supported the removal of the government at that point in time, and it was just that they couldn't physically do it. They couldn't, didn't have that bravery or that ability to really do what he did. And I think it's echoed in a number of calypsos as well. Kroko's Say a Prayer for Abu Bakr, Watchman's Abu Bakr Take Over, Brother Ebony. There are quite a few, Sparrow, that, the sentiments of the people, the feeling of the people at that point in time was, this is certainly not the mandate that we gave this political entity. Of course, with the fallout and the sidelining of all those UNC, members, UL if you want to call it, there was that destruction of democracy, where a prime minister, with the superpowers that we allow them to have, acted in a dictatorial manner and, destroyed the hopes and the aspirations of our people who had elected that group a little while before. So yeah, it was not a matter of.
But you know, a young person listening to or recounting what would have happened on that fateful day, and trying to understand the politics of the day, trying to understand the laws of the land, which is significantly different from, say, the U.S., because citizens have the right to bear arms against the state in the U.S. We don't necessarily have that right here. Is it that you would think that maybe we should somewhat make some serious revision to the Constitution to allow for some kind of venting, some kind of, some people would say, laws that allow for the citizens to remove the government, not necessarily by coup, but where the interest of the majority is not being, you know, things like referendum and you know that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, we have been speaking about it for some time as well. The right to recall. It is something that people have talked about constitutionally that they think we should have. Just imagine it again. Imagine we overwhelmingly vote for some entity or some prime minister and a political entity, and then they go into office, and contrary to the mandate that they promised us, which is not legally binding on them, they start removing COLA, removing school feeding program, putting austerity on us, you know, doing things that are seriously impacting our lives. And we did not vote for that. We don't want that. And they're stating to us that, listen, we don't care. You have to live with this for the next 5 years. You know, that is a certain loophole in our Constitution. I mean, even further to that, just take that example of literally what happened. You vote for representatives as well, and those representatives are then thrown to the back bench. You know, it is to be in the back bench after you elected, and people put their hopes and their vote and their in you. You know, Mr. Pandey speaks about Mr. Robinson. You know, all of the major players are even not with us physically anymore. They've passed on. But he spoke of Mr. Robinson and stated, you know, he would have brought a list of over 100 individuals. Think about what is taking place now with the UNC coalition selecting boards, etc., right? And Mr. Robinson took 2, I think, out of the 100 and something educated, qualified Indo-Trinbagonians, not only Indo-Trinbagonians, but Trinbagonians, some mostly Indo-Trinbagonians that were brought and offered for these positions. It was you know, it was really a farce of what democracy stood for. And I know my father was extremely close to Mr. Pandey before. I know that even politically they were affiliated as well. And I felt that had a major role to play in terms of the sentiments of the people, nurses marching, public servants marching. Some of us are young, like myself, and the only way we know these things is based on what is taught to us and when we research. But it was a really terrible period.
Before you go, Ronaldo, I know you want to ask him some questions. So is it that you are giving credence to the discussion held outside that the coup, the attempted coup, had Abubakar had also accomplices apart from those that were there with him? political accomplices who supported him in some way, and who might have probably known about the coup before, or known about what was happening before, because you are talking about what Mr. Pandey was said and details, but there are persons who would have said that I think it was Pandey who wasn't there, and he said, "Wake me up and it's over." So is it that he knew that it was going to happen, or I mean, not it's over. Abu Bakr has already been, and the group of men has already been, they've already been forgiven for what, well, not necessarily forgiven, but by the courts they have already been set free, pardoned also.
They've transitioned as well. They're no longer with us in this realm, and I think most importantly, always to my father, was how he is judged by the Most High, right, the Creator.
Yes.
And that is of utmost importance to him. He was also a man of honor in the sense that if he had an arrangement with other men, he would not go and say this one and that one and this one.
Right.
And it's something that he also taught me as a young man as well, politically, even in your home, you have an arrangement, you have something with someone, you don't go outside and say this and say that thereafter to jeopardize them because, it didn't work out the way that you think it was supposed to work out. My father's a man of honor. So I wouldn't go into that too much, and I would not want to cast aspersions on any other individual in terms of responsibility for actions.
I got you.
Yeah, in terms of responsibility for actions, my father took responsibility.
For everything.
And he led in taking responsibility. He took the persecution thereafter. Any system that is challenged in that manner cannot allow the individual who has challenged it to get away and thrive too much, because they don't want to breed that type of accountability, if you want to say it that way. You don't want other people to think, when you are now later on taking advantage of a people or going back on your mandate or acting in a dictatorial manner, that is an option. You want people to feel as though they have no recourse other than in 5 years get people to vote me out. You want,
Right.
So I understand the system as well, and I understand why the system dealt with my father in the manner that they attempted to deal with him. I understand the games that politicians also play. They would be part and parcel with what transpires, but in the public sphere they say, democracy is the only way, and we don't believe in this and we don't believe in that, and
correct.
And they pontificate.
But Fuad, getting into, I'm taking Mr. Mattison's questions, but I'm going to change it because I think you've partially answered it. But I want to get to the philosophical side of it, the ideological side. And I remember you saying before, these were sentiments based on a particular view of democracy, right? And what was happening in the country, the antecedents with being economical, social. So let me put the question to you in this way. Do you feel that those views were singular? Meaning that your dad alone had those views. I know you said
as a member of society.
Yes, I know you talked about the population in general, and we would have seen different pockets of discontentment. I remember you saying that, and as a little boy, I think I could remember some of that. But do you think?
I'm going to ask how old you are as well.
Yes.
Listen, for my historical analysis, because I have had to make that effort as a Trinbagonian, as a leader. And even as a son of a leader who would have taken those actions as well. We could go back to Sopo which was one of the major organizations that led actions and demonstrations against what was taking place. We can go back to, you know, the political commentary of most of the people who we still look up to, you know, Mr. David Abdullah, Mr. Selwyn Ryan, and others.
Yes.
And they were quite clear. Even in the Commission of Inquiry,
yes,
you know, people who appeared like Mr. Werner St. Rose and others, respected members of our society,
yes,
outlined how terrible things were economically.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was not totally the Alliance for Reconstruction's fault, because they would have gotten an economy which was somewhat in tatters from the PNM. But economically, and then the decisions that they made, you know, Colin Imbert says you can't tax yourself into prosperity. Well, the cuts and the austerity, the IMF, it was particularly challenging.
Yes.
And before my father's passing, what he was saying to me is, you know, he had not seen Trinidad and Tobago in such a difficult place, except prior to 1990.
Right.
You know, that's the fallout from COVID and the last regime as well, who gave us a certain level of austerity as well.
Right.
Cost of living increases, reduction of subsidies, you know, and I remember him saying that to me, that the only time that he remembered Trinidad and Tobago being similarly difficult was during that period. We
prior
really have to
prior to
depend on
1990.
our elders. Yeah, prior to 1990, 88, 89 to 90, we really have to depend on our honest elders to tell us the truth historically about what transpired. We have to dive into the archives that exist. I point people to this really nice documentary, July 27, 1990, Kaiso, which is shot right after the coup. And you have the honest expressions of people being interviewed by Tina Banyan.
Yes.
You know, and people saying, you know, yes, we're glad, you know, people couldn't get jobs. And you shouldn't mess with poor people. You know?
But do you think
the
there are any...
sentiment was there.
Do you think that there are any real takeaways from what would have happened, the catalyst to what would have happened and what would have happened, and going forward, the way the society should be organized to prevent even the to prevent the issues that would have brought about the coup from reoccurring?
Yeah, certainly.
I would have already hinted the legislation, but I mean the the political.
Yeah. A right to recall would definitely give people a avenue other than revolution or a coup or some type of social unrest. We need to be more united as a people. I would hope that even our governments are more honest and communicate in a better manner to the population, even when they may have to take more difficult decisions for us. But definitely the communication and the honesty needs to be, you know, is essential. But they have learned lessons, you know. I hope they have not forgotten. But in the period thereafter, 1990, lessons were learned. Very few politicians in Trinidad and Tobago would even mention IMF. Even, in my opinion, sadistic individuals like Mr. Imbert, for example, who revels in austerity, he wouldn't want you to mention IMF. It's like a bad word, because it has a certain taste in the mouth of Trinbagonians, and that's out of 1990. And there is, and there was, somewhere in the mind of the politician that, listen, we could do it, but we need to limit the way we do, because, you know, we don't want the people to rise too much up against us.
But you know, as you would have indicated, what would have happened in 1990 and some of the things that would have brought about the conditions for 1990 would have had its genesis from prior to, even before 1980, right? After Eric Williams died, you know, a lot of things came to light to the people. I was a little boy, but I remembered reading the history of it, and we would have spent almost $1.5 trillion out of oil revenue that the country would have had, and there was little in terms of real development for the people to show. So clearly, after Eric Williams died and George Chambers would have taken over up to 1986, when he lost the elections, I don't think that there was much for the incoming government to do more than what they would have done, and being an astute politician as Robinson was, he knew that he had to take certain decisions. Some of the decisions that he took, it's just that he in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think he was probably overzealous in the way he did it, because he felt that the people of Trinidad and Tobago should have understood him. But I think he was doing he had some good ideas, and he was going...
Apart from which, Fuad, I have a different orientation towards issues surrounding the IMF, which are, to me, to be honest, have been, as an organization, have been quite demonized, and sometimes unfairly so, because you and I would appreciate that the IMF is a lender of last resort. It is not... You go to the IMF when certain things in your own country and economy are wrong. The IMF doesn't come to you. IMF, and I will repeat that, they are a lender of last resort. And like any money lender anywhere in the world, even on the block here, there are terms and conditions that may not be too favorable, but definitely there are terms and conditions of a loan that will obviously need to be fulfilled for you to qualify and for these things to be done.
I have a different view on that.
So,
I think that those are relics of colonialism.
Yeah, but you went there, Steve. If you went there, it's like any. If you go to the money lender, let's break it down. You go to the money lender. Which is
why I like what's the emerging scene right now, BRICS.
Yes.
I love and the New Development Bank and their whole policy.
Yes.
I love their whole idea and their policy of lending and that kind of thing.
But do you see in your analysis, therefore, in looking at the situation, and I would say from a very balanced economic view, because you did talk about the cards that were dealt, so I think you understand the context. I think you do also understand the constraints, and maybe even now, looking back, you would understand, if you've seen IMF operate anywhere in the world, it's really basically the same storyline they come with when you go to borrow their money. The same conditionalities. I agree with you. I think we could have done some things better. I take your point about love, because I think that was the same ethos, to be honest, of Mr. Robinson, you know, and just as you would.
Well, I don't know the man. I haven't had I did not have the ability or the opportunity to meet him and speak with him, which I would have taken the opportunity, you know.
Right.
He always, in my opinion, came across more strongly as his middle name, Napoleon.
Yeah.
In terms of the way he conducted himself in a number of actions.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if it was a wrong matter, if it was before or if it was after he had gone to Africa. And I think they would have named him, he would have been anointed King Olokun Igbaro. I don't know if you remember that. I think it was before. And all of that would have in some way rile the public.
We need to be very cautious in the way that we anoint politicians. They are already given immeasurable power under our constitution, especially a prime minister. They are given, you know, again, as one of our major commentators says, we create a prime ministerial dictator who has the ability across different institutions that are supposed to be independent to manipulate our process. And if they are not
held in check,
if they are not inclined towards democracy and towards the separation of powers, we still leave the ability for a prime minister to do tremendous damage. Let's not get it twisted. If they want to dive into the judiciary, if they want to dive into the police service, even with the commissioner of police, if they want to manipulate individuals with senior counsel and awards and briefs, if they want to really demonstrate power, absolute power in Trinidad and Tobago, there are very few checks and balances. And I believe what we found at that point in time, with that overwhelming majority given to that individual, and maybe their personality and inclination towards power and the way that they wielded power, it was not very sensitive. It was a different time as well. So even in context of Yassin Abubakar being an Afro-Trinbagonian Muslim, that created tension. Even the rise of Afro-Trinbagonian Islam in Trinidad and Tobago, which now represents maybe somewhere around 6% or more of our population, but at that point, its growth had now taken place. There was this tension in the society, and people looking at it as people moving away from Christianity and traditional norms and moving into this thing that some people did not understand, you know. And I think even that level of prejudice played a role in the way that they dealt with Yassin Abubakar and that organization as well. I feel as though, as directed by my father as well, as he tried to explain the connection between politicians and business and the drug trade in Trinidad and Tobago, had some role to play as well.
Right.
And
So which brings me to a question I wanted to ask you, because I've looked at a number of discussions. I've heard a number of discussions in regards to, and when we deal with crime, because I remember around that time, crime was just a percentage of what it is today. But there are there are a number of views that said to some extent that your father was a crime boss, and there are some who say that your father, to a large extent, he was one of the person standing in the gap to prevent what would have happened after, in terms of the amount of crime that that catapult into what it is today. So, what are your views on that? Because there are persons who...
I mean, certainly I've watched it firsthand in the later stages of his life and the Jamaat in a period thereafter, 1990, when I was old enough to understand. But, you know, Errol Fabian probably puts it the best way. A rehabilitated drug addict. I don't know if you all know that he used to use cocaine. And he would have said one of the things that helped him to come off was my father and the green van. That crackdown against cocaine in Trinidad and Tobago, that crackdown that my father and his organization led, with the assistance of some police as well, because there's some good, honest police who understood and who still understand up till this day the role that my father played. And that crackdown against cocaine in particular on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago around that time put my father in conflict with individuals who had a certain level of power in our society. And I think that brought some of the tension that my father would have faced that really was a precursor to 1990 as well. But even beyond that, you know, I remember Mr. Manning, as well now deceased, you know, utilizing my father as a de facto Minister of National Security. I remember even Mr. Bazio Pandey in his tenure, his first tenure, where he did a tremendous job in terms of our country with national security. Our figures were still very, very modest in terms of crime, and we lived, it was a totally different place, you know.
I remember in those days, crime didn't used to pass 100, murders didn't used to pass 100.
Murders, yeah, and my father played a critical role.
Even
not a
with
joke
Teddy
role,
Mice and Naya, and Teddy Mice and them, the real drug lords and things.
But he played a critical role. What we see now is just like disorder and chaos on the street, where anybody does anything. That could not take place then, you know. So if people are really honest in our society, they, you know, and there's some people who are honest and they say they wish Abu Bakr was still here, they wish, you know, he had the influence that he would have had before, because he served Trinidad and Tobago tremendously. He served Trinidad.
Well, we all know that in a lot of ways, crime is big business, and a lot of people profit off of crime in so many different ways. Crime is big business, and no matter how you dice it, how you look at it from any angle of the supply chain, you would see that crime is big business, and there are people who just may not want it to have that abrupt end. So you wouldn't want the Abu Bakrs and that kind of thing intervening in a certain kind of way.
So Fuad, we have just a couple minutes left. We're going for a break. But any little closing remarks, and especially to people who may not have as much information as you have, one, and people who have maybe been, you know, let's say hypnotized or informed by one source or another. You know, people tend to see things from their own point of view about what they lost during the period or what happened to them in the period. I give you about a minute or so just to close, and we'll go to break.
Sure. No problem at all. There's this saying that history is written by the victors. We must be very careful about his story, right? Who tells a story? When I read a book, I look at the author, and I listen to their perspective based on who that is. And we must be also cautious as well. If we are going to listen to a story, we need to listen to it from two sides, and then try to find the truth somewhere in the middle. Abu Bakr would not have existed and lived the long life that he lived in peace with himself and die peacefully at the age of 80 if he was this terrible man that some people try to portray him to be. If you say that you know a tree by its fruit, my sisters are doctors and businessmen. I am a politician, but I have a law and business degree. My brother represented Trinidad and Tobago, also with a degree, etc. We are exceptional people within our society. I mean, there are other children of individuals who were in the coup as well, exceptional individuals within the society. And we must be a little bit more fair and open-minded.
Okay.
And think about things wider.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fuad. Nice talking to you. We'll talk again on some more political
anytime,
stuff.
feel free.
Okay?
Yeah, man.
Thank
Same
you.
to everyone.
So that was very insightful, of course, and it sheds a lot of light on the other side. I mean, the not just the hunter side, but the lion side.
Yeah, and we'll dissect it when we'll get back after the break. We'll talk about it and we'll get you, the pavilion, in on particular parts of it. We don't really want to make it a tit for tat, but definitely we'll hear from you after the break.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Attention business owners. Are you looking to reach a vast audience and boost your brand's visibility? Then look no further. The Street 919 FM is here to help you shine. With over 170,000 followers on our social media platforms, our radio station is the perfect platform to showcase your products and services. Join us and let your message be heard by thousands of eager listeners. Contact us now to learn more about our affordable advertising packages. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to connect with your target audience. Advertise with the Street 919 FM today. For more information, call 399-5959 or 384-2232.
Are you tired of scratching the surface? Do you want to understand the real forces shaping Trinidad and Tobago? From the delicate dance of our energy sector on the global stage, to the geopolitical shadows behind the crime affecting our streets, we dig deeper. The third umpire goes beyond the headlines. We connect the dots between local challenges and the international currents that truly impact your life, your wallet, your security. Join Stephen Matheson, Selvin Mitchell, and Ronaldo Rollux, 3 employment law and human resource management consulting professionals, as they unpack the complexities, analyze the power plays, and reveal the often hidden realities. Understand the game. Understand your role in it. The third umpire, critically analyzing Trinidad and Tobago's economic and political realities on how they affect your daily lives. Tune in Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. on the Street 919 FM. Don't just listen to the news. Understand it.
We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. We rollin' big when the jackpot hit. Play way fast cash, that is the fit. We rollin' big. Fast cash and play way take win. No extra spend, just vibes and luck. Play way and fast cash turn up. We rollin', yes we rollin' big. Fast cash and play way take win. Mega mix or monster pick. Jackpot from 10,000 quick.
Jackpots starting at $10,000 have now been added to NLCB's Playway and Fast Cash games. Wager on Playway Mega Mix or Fast Cash Monster Draw for a chance to win the jackpot after every draw. Don't miss out. Visit NLCBgames.com for details. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly.
Light up your weekends at Vibes Nightclub, Tobago's hottest spot. 3 epic nights of music and energy await every Thursday. Karaoke Thursdays. Kick off at 8 p.m. with free entry. Grab the mic, unleash your inner star, and sing all night. Beers on special for $10, 2 Campari for $25, and giveaways for the best singers. Every Friday, Limers Fridays. Kick off at 8 p.m. with free entry. Vibes with your crew and enjoy beers on special for $10, 2 Campari for $25, and 2 White Oak for $25. Every Saturday, Raw Saturdays. Everything goes, nothing but good vibes, free entry, and an all-star DJ cast to bring the vibes. Vibes Nightclub is where Tobago shines. Join us Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for music, fun, and unforgettable nights. Don't miss out. Your weekend starts at Vibes.
Planning your Tobago getaway? Choose the highest Google-rated car rental company on the island, O'Neill Auto Rentals Tobago. Located just minutes from the A&R Robinson International Airport, at O'Neill, we pride ourselves on being the most tech-savvy car rental company in Tobago. Our process is 100% digital. No paperwork, no long lines. From easy pickup to seamless returns, renting a car in Tobago has never been simpler. WhatsApp us now at 1-868-361-1042 to book your vehicle. Don't forget to mention promo code RADIO2 to receive a 5% discount on your rental. Send a WhatsApp message to 1-888-361-1042 today. That's 1-888-361-1042. O'Neill Auto Rentals Tobago, the easiest, most reliable car rental experience on the island.
Vehicle availability is subject to change. Driver must be at least 25 years old and have a valid driver's license to book. For more information, visit www.rentalcartobago.com.
The Gap Man Limited specializes in products that cater to all your health needs. The Male Enhancement Package targets the areas of the body that contribute to erectile dysfunction. The Male Enhancement costs $1,400. The Gap pills are priced at 250 pills for $500 and 500 pills for just $900. For the best in eye care, get the super combination of a Super Bright and the Body Healer. To improve the heart's function and circulation, get the Gap pills and Formula C. To get a total body cleanse daily, use the Gap Body Healer and Big C, all for a super low price of $1,300. To order your products from the Gap Man Limited, call 628-4531 for products that cater to all your health needs.
For more info, contact 476-7268.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Okay, and we're back. We're back for a final hour on the Third Empire, and we've had a lengthy discussion with a gentleman who has a particular perspective and a particular experience, and that's what we were talking about. And I want us to treat all opinions with respect, right? Regardless of what we may think about it, etc. And we may have different views, but the Third Empire promises with surgical precision to keep everything in line and to allow everyone to have their say. I do have different views on some of the issues, as I expressed to you. I can relate, especially understanding a little more about economics now. I'm not an economist by any measure. I catch my tail to pass micro and macro econ. Good. If you want to stay in UE long, fail those two things. But understanding the role that the IMF plays, and I always have to stress that they're a lender of last resort, and they don't come in. You call them, and you borrow their money on certain terms and conditions, as any lender will, for me to pay it back, and I see that as fair game. But I want to end this final hour dealing with, as what you asked, Mr. Matheson, what are some of the lessons you think we learned, if any? You know, have we learned any lessons from 1990? And you were talking about democracy, and what happens when democracy doesn't work? What happens when things are stuck?
Well, I think we learned some lessons, but I think Trinidad and Tobago, we are very lucky. We are very docile people. We take a lot. I'm in no way suggesting that we should just turn insurrectionists to solve our problems, but we have been very lucky so far, right, to a large extent. As one of the callers would have indicated earlier on, at that time, we had just a figment of what national security should be also. So that too was a crisis. But in terms of what we learned, or what should have come out from that, and I think Freud will have hinted to it, I see it all the time. I think when you hear people say that we, the people, of our other umpire here usually say we the people, and we have the power to change things, we have the power to do things and fix things. We really don't. We only have that power around election time with our fingers. That's the only time, in my opinion, that we really have that true power to be able to do that. But by that time, it's too late. So if one thing I maybe could see coming out of that maybe should have come out of that is the power to recall one. Things like a referendum, people should be able to vent their opinion and say whether or not they want to move forward with a particular issue, understanding the intricacies of it through referendum and that kind of thing, like say even places like Jamaica and that kind of thing. So I don't know. Those are things that I could see as hidden good that should have or could have come out from something like a coup, attempted coup.
So la historia me absolverá. La historia me absolverá was the title of the speech made by Fidel Castro for 2 hours. History will absolve me, in his defense concerning charges, with the whole, the Cuban Revolution. And he spoke for 2 hours. He was a great orator, lengthy but great. These men needed no help to stand on their feet and counter or argue or debate. And in comparison, the Cuban Revolution also had very controversial views as well. You at one time, depending on what you read, you would not know if Castro is a hero or he's the protagonist. Depending on if it's U.S. news or Caribbean news. Depending on which newspaper you pick up, you will, and all might be facts.
Was it Bustamante? Was it Bustamante? He would have succeeded in terms of
in Cuba? No,
Bustamante was Jamaica.
That's Jamaica. Yeah. But Castro himself always said la historia me absolverá, which was his theme in that paper, that history will, and only history can do that, because depending on what you're listening and where you hear it from, the story is very, very, very controversial. It's very, very dicey, and the similar things can be said about the coup, depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking about the guy who got the fridge, that might have been a time of his life. If you're talking about the guy who got shot, that's the worst day in his memory. We sit at different places and spaces in these events, and only time will tell. Have we moved on? Do we really know anything much more, like credibly more, about the coup? And as Dominic Cali-Posada, I don't know if you heard when I read the first excerpt by Dominic Cali-Posada, who was complaining that, with all this rhetoric, the coup, the attempted coup, as Dominic would say, failed to honor and recognize the workers.
We sitting just opposite where most of that was.
Yeah. He said, I'm tired talking about it. The people at Trinidad and Tobago Television and at Radio Trinidad who were held hostage, none of them politicians, only mere workers. We were ignored after the attempted coup. No sympathy, no empathy, no recognition for their courage and bravery during the 6 life-threatening days of trauma. Not even psychological therapy. Not even for the families who were traumatized. And just like the divers and other things in Trinidad, somehow when these things happen, we forget the little man. We forget the little man. Now, this is our worker, and this is before us. Right? This is before the
2004.
Correct. the boss had an obligation to treat with workers, and so many times in these worker issues, workers are left to pick up the pieces. You understand? And I know good companies with good HR will take care of that. Good HR policy and good HR practice, you know, will take care of some of these issues. But Dominic Kalipasad is saying that I was just a worker, you know. I was no big hero. I didn't have on green. I wasn't a policeman. I didn't have arms. But how we were dealt with after the coup, it looked like it was a celebrity event. Good. Where we talk about what happened to the celebrities. But what happened to the workers at the Radio Trinidad, at TTT?
Correct.
What happened to the workers? What was there for the workers? The everyday, the common, maybe the security. What happened to the workers? And I'm going to open up the lines because I see the phone ringing, callers, but I want to center the question. So that we don't go all over the place. Have we learned from July 1990, July the 27th? Have we learned? And if so, what have we learned? And have we moved on? Some things in Trinidad, they have, after big inquiry and plenty money, we still confused. You know. We still have bit. We're not too sure. We're not too certain. We remain the same. We're not too certain. Yeah. Some people even the water is sometimes more murky. Let's take our first caller. Caller, good afternoon. Caller, good evening. Hi.
Good evening. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. The question is, have we learned anything?
Yes.
A big no.
Okay.
Because my little piece is,
yes,
when that happened, I was a big woman when that happened, right?
Yes.
When that happened, as I told you, 25 years after they had a commission of inquiry. Now tell me, Dominic and all those people who suffered, the people who lost, whatever happened.
Yes.
Right? They were 25 years older.
Wow.
With nothing resolved there.
Yes.
They're now coming up, and you remember the commission of inquiry was just to find out. This is not, hey, let us see what we're doing. The country should have been built and restructured and be better, and you learned.
Yes.
Because you spoke about Castro.
Yes.
Remember when people take over a country, they take over the existing people, they get rid of the existing leader.
Yes.
And look at what Cuba became. We have to run to their doctors. We get their doctors, the best doctors in the world, they start there, the universities, because they developed after the revolution.
Yes.
Or coup, or the takeover. You learn, and because our country didn't have a new administration after to say Abu Bakr take over, cut down everybody, and start a new regime.
Well, I was going to say that.
It's the same old ANR.
Get around the country.
Right, it's the same people, so why didn't they build up, help even the people who, what do they call that? Their companies were destroyed and all kind of thing, right?
Yes.
And everything, but why I said no is because it still had Carnival, still had Christmas, and everybody was happy-go-lucky. Because I always tell you all the pity that you hear and the crying and the sobbing and the who's suffering and who has getting a feedback, who suffered. How come Carnival continued? And this is without a commission of inquiry.
We jamming still.
How come all that continued?
We jamming still, the song says.
We jamming, everybody was partying. I heard nothing stop in Trinidad. Yeah. That's why I said no. It's still, and it come worse. Yeah. It's bad enough, nothing happened. But then to say it went on its merry way.
Yes.
Look at the condition, and I told you, for you to call it a thing 25 years after to ask what happened. You all ever heard what happened to the Commission of Inquiry of that? You ever heard the results?
No.
You listen to it? Well, right. So if you could tell me, it's 35 years now. At 25, they had it come. Now it's 35 years now.
Wow.
What do you know? What do you know? How far your country, what the university is, how big, how it has changed. And before I go, I'd like to tell you, you all know we celebrate Bastille Day. Look at Bastille Day. Look at Bastille Day. Bastille is the French Revolution. That is how they have a president today. They had a king and a queen. They had a king and a queen, and the poor people, it wasn't no rich, it wasn't no army, the people, and the wife of the queen's head, and they had a president up to today. That's how they have a president and not a king and a queen. Because the people got up and changed the system.
Yes.
Whether you find it good, bad, indifferent, but it changed the system.
Yes.
So if not, it should have a change after.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's what happened.
But that's my thing.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so kindly. Thank you. Yeah. What happened after?
That's what happened in most real democracy. After a revolution, things change.
Have we moved on? Have we learned anything? Please answer the question. Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Yeah, man, I all the statement. I sit down here and I hear in West, it was nice conversation where I said, Buckingham. Hey, Stephen, you there, man?
Yeah, man.
All right. Here's the socialist man, the man who next day is the psychologist man. the man who went there right now is the philosopher.
Oh, okay.
You see, I have a deep in mind, so you go understand. I could jump high, jump low. Every three people who could sit down like all in an atom, or they're going with me there, or they're real psychology. They could make up an atom that could make shade. It could make plenty of atoms.
So, Prezi, tell me, do you think we have learned anything? Have we moved on? What has?
Yeah, we learn. Yeah, we learn. We learn bad. We learn good.
Right.
Abu Bakr wasn't a bad man in the thought. Abu Bakr is a man who saw the frustrations of human beings, and he make a move in his way. Nobody brave enough could do a thing at that time. But he did the thing in himself. He used his own self to attack the system. We see him end up come out from, how will let's call it again, amnesty or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he worked for that. Because eventually the system so corrupt in their own self. The game play because he play a part. Like go politics or whatever. Really and truly, when I tell we, and let us go, so you have to listen now. Because God give me a thing to show you, and I might go anytime I 63, right talking here, and I tell all the young people something here. Many elders go to tell you because I will tell you something here.
How much Prezi say is 93?
Do play what to exact me. I tell you 63.
53? Like I hear 93.
Let's talk with people now because I have real intelligence. I just want to be cut off, but I just take my cut off and come back the next time. If I get go too long, only help me, okay, right? Whatever happens. The truth is, now, young Abu is daddy, right? You could almost say he's daddy. There is things that he bringing out real nice thing. I like them because he has information for real. Because he is daddy's son. He know everything almost, and the subject matter he take up in life. He know that. But deep consciousness, it has certain things we ain't in position in real to let go. And you go deep, Mr. Stephen. Answer we are put on from long time, but it needs to be answered in Trinidad and Tobago because it was a problem. And it stands still that even today, when they're talking their politics, I hear, they just bring up this question, drug report. I don't know who is the cause for it, I never knew. But the
position of those days was so much different set of corruption and in between the inner. This corruption guided from Chambers in a sense because people will only talk, but William called them people, I wouldn't call the word, yeah, I won't think, but he called the representatives and them some kind of British name. But there was a thing between Kamaluddin and Muhammad and Chambers. That piece of thing they hate. It had a little something, you know. But there was a kind of in between because people wanted Kamaluddin, but the choice of appointment or certain circumstances eventually Chambers, but Chambers eventually the Calypso. He don't see it had two ways. He don't see way happening and he don't see. However they call it there, that was his program. But he really was so nice as a representative. They put him minister, prime minister after. You had to grow to that. He grew to it. But it's another thing. And it comes down then afterwards when Robbie come and take over. Robbie tried to put on a kind of program here. Some good, some nice. But the society at that time couldn't take it. And it had a problem up inside of it. We had drugs. We had all kind of things was passing through the night when I hear the thing, what mash up thing by the next morning we had a coup. What mash up the thing is when Robinson come on top of a drug report, a Scotch drug report. People mustn't let it go because that will mash up the country. And it helped too, according to all that, for me to change how we think and think differently according to what happened that time. It is only a spark to cause an action. And when that action comes from the spark, we must know it. If we don't know it, we're in trouble. If we know it, we can move on. I'm going with that.
All right, thank you, Prezi. Thank you. Let's take another call. Caller, good evening.
Hey, my brothers.
Yes.
No, I want to ask you something. Anyone out there ever studied to be a lawyer?
Why ask?
Because I see always hitting my brother Baka. Or they want to get out something from him, some names. And when they come to that question, all different how my brother good. He said that. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
we are learning nothing because I will tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Abu Bakr, he taught us something. You know what he taught us? That things might be permitted, but it is required. You understand?
Okay.
So, for them to hear us, if that things what is required, we have to do it. So we can hear it. You see, when Abu Bakr take over, when Abu Bakr says the coup, I think the information on my brother Muhammad said, he said about a day or two after, the Prime Minister is saying amnesty for them. So why it is the wait so long? Why did it stretch all them days? What to do what? Kill more people to make me know that all you don't do this again? You understand? We're not seeing all here. Is that the prolonged the amnesty for one? I mean, they could have finished it in a day or two. You understand? Why did they do that? To show us. You know why they do that? To show us. To kill more people. For them to kill more because I'm back and I'm inside. They're not killing nobody who was outside doing the killing. No. What I'm saying is that to show us, don't do that again. We're not listening to all you. Let we do what we have to do. You understand? So that's what I tell you. It something is not permitted or sometimes it's required. My friend, you have a go ahead.
Okay, thanks, caller. 25 years it took us to review it.
So are you saying that it was in 2015 that we actually got a commission of inquiry completed? 25 years.
That's crazy. Let me take this caller. Caller, good evening. Okay, caller declined. But have we learned anything? What have we learned? Revolution by any means? Don't you plan out the revolution from the beginning to the end? Because it must have.
I wonder what Abu was thinking when they did that.
Yeah.
Were they
did they have a plan A, B, and C?
Yeah, certainly they didn't have a plan B because they surround the Red House and TTT and the places where they were, and they were eventually give up after,
Yes.
of course, they signed an amnesty. But what would did they go to, but I really plan to get amnesty? Or did they go to die for something? What was it? I don't understand.
It seems a miss, and that is why my own theory tells me there were it have people missing from this story.
But this epitomizes, in my view, the story about the cat and the rats, because clearly there was something prevailing in the society at the time, and that needed to be fixed. There were some issues that people were having, and somebody had to bell the cat.
Right.
So I don't know if the cat was eventually belled, but it kind of resembles that situation because...
No, I don't think it was belled, but hold on, let me answer this call. Caller, good evening.
No, this is a very interesting program topic, wherever you want to put it. No, I want to ask all your question. What all you think should be done, seeing that a coup went on and the still not hearing us, and you know, and no matter how we protest, they're still not hearing. What all you think we should put in place to get that hearing, to make sure we could tell them, all you're going to build a highway, fix these two communities.
Well,
What solution all you could put in place in order to stop a coup from happening, and also for them to listen to us?
Well, we've said it over. I've said it twice on this program already. I think that what we need to do is not necessarily to make government bigger, but to make government, to legislate, to make government put things in the constitution that would allow for government to speak to the people at certain times. And what I'm saying is things like referendum, things like removing things like campaign financing, you know, all these kind of things. These things will allow for government to be more fair and transparent and objective. And those are things that, because right now we have a very adversarial governance system with two parties in particular, curry chicken and stew chicken, and at least that's how people see it. And to a large extent, stew chicken at election time, they conjure up a certain kind of feelings around people that they have a certain kind of they have a kind of ownership feeling about Trinidad and Tobago, and that curry chicken should not be running the country because they're corrupt and the thief and all that kind of. That's what it kind of, and the racial and all that kind of. That's what they conjure up in the minds of most people. So that deep division, to a large extent, remains all the time, whether it's real or imagined. And we need to fix the constitution so that we could have more objectivity. So we could have things like referendum, we could have things like things to be able to recall the politicians when they when they are not acting in the best interest of the majority. I'm just saying these are things that, some of the things that I could think about that we could put into fix, but it's not no different.
All right.
To most democracies in the world. It doesn't the same doesn't apply in the US. The US is a 4-year term, and President Trump by executive order could more or less do anything, just like in Trinidad with our Prime Minister.
All right. What I'm saying is very interesting and is a very brilliant idea. How do we start to put these things in place? This is the whole thing about the country year after year after year after year. We have no starting block. We just going on, we protest for a day, and the next week we forget what we protest for. You understand? So waiters could make a good starting block where the starting block can move, so we could kick off. You understand? What is the first step? What is the first procedure? The battle all in, the behind all in, because all have very good ideas. We behind all them. I mean, always the watchmen. You understand? And we are the guards. You understand?
Yeah.
So we waiting for it to make the move, and what all they say, we only first step to make it. All right, we will go with that.
All right, thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. And I see it. I will use the what the tool that we use the most. I will use the IR analysis. I will want to apply the industrial relation lens to this scenario, because we will start with the theory, which we realize it was factual, that a lot of the dissent and discontentment came from workers and worker issues based on the economic situation as manifested by the government and government policies. Now, it's a very dangerous thing when workers don't understand the issues or do not correctly address and dissect the issues given the facts, and that is something that goes beyond 1990. It is true in any type of governance or any type of leadership, company, you name it. We said that the workers were not happy with the removal of cola. The workers were not happy with some of the industrial relations climate, actually, that pervaded at the time. What could we have done better, which is for me the more salient question, to harmonize or to protect that industrial relations climate coming in during that period? Let's say Mr. Robinson was the employer, right? And we're using the analogy, Madison, that he's running a company and things bad with the company economically. How you communicate with your workers will be key to that company's survival.
Correct.
The economics, given what it is, right? Things bad. It's like what we had during COVID. And that's why during COVID we had such a everything was gray, because the facts were there, but people say facts speak for themselves, but that's not always true. Good? So Mr. Robinson would have been dealt with a certain type of cards given what happened before, and going to the IMF, that is where the money has to come from, because this is a land of milk and honey, and you need milk and honey to flow. I think the unions, as far as I remember, led a they were very vocal about some of the things that the government were doing, especially I remember that time about wage negotiations where they wanted to give workers bonds.
I think the workers were given a percentage, but I think it was never given to them. They were promised a percentage. But years before that, you had marches like the Nurses March and that kind of thing in the 80s and that kind of thing. But that, to a large extent, you see, if you can't use that analogy you can't use the analogy of the worker, because then you would say that maybe you should have some kind of agreement, like a collective agreement in the case of workers, and then that will spell out everything. That obviously will spell out what are the grievance procedures and how you go about and how you deal with it. So you can't really use the analogy. What I think should be done, or should always be done in situation, is to have some kind of guiding principle as to how you treat with the population in terms of when hard decisions has to be made. I think a caller would have indicated that, and anything outside of that would be the legislative changes that we spoke about earlier on. Because
any government will find itself in a position, well, the unfortunate position where you cannot fulfill as your promises. And it's not just an analogy. Look at it as facts. The government as an employer. Because current to that time, pertinent to that time, was the issue of industrial relations, issues with workers, coal and all these things for affect job security, job losses. Next, how do you communicate to workers in those times? How do you interact with unions? Do you take the adversarial approach, which is the me versus them, and they're on the street and you looking out the window? Good.
Well, obviously, the union wasn't as perturbed as Abu Bakr was, because what would have happened in the 1970s would have been all of that you're talking about, right?
No, I think the difference is I think the difference is in 1990 they did not lead, which is the issue. This is the issue, and this is the theory I have with the fall guy. They chose their fall guy. I think that was. I don't think that was by mistake. Yes,
the fall guy. He decided to be the one rat that would try to belly cat.
I don't think so. I think there was a discussion among the rats. I think so. There's nothing that tells me that this was a novel idea come up by one gentleman, and Fuad hinted to it. There were several pockets of discontent on the ground and even in the air. Even in the political spaces, he didn't want to call the names. So I do not think that this gentleman sitting down in a tree came up with an idea that I will be the martyr for Trinidad. I will do this and I will do that. I don't think so. I don't think so. There were enough things that were happening in the society at the time to help with his ideology. And then, as you hinted, there may have even been political help.
Well, we know there were political.
And I think he says as much without calling names.
To some extent.
In his interviews, he says as much that I had to be a madman to get up one day and get give out a couple guns and say we're going to take over Trinidad and Tobago. No insurrection works like that, Mr. Matheson. No coup, not even in Burkina Faso. It doesn't work like that. They don't be pitching marble and a man decide that, hey, it's time to take over the country. Those things take planning. Those things take discussions. Now, as you say, we don't know what the plan A and B and how far the planning went, right?
How much of them guys died? How much of them guys died from
during the
insurrectionists?
I think Fuad suggests that they're not alive anymore.
No. How many of them would have died during the coup?
I can't remember. I don't have the figure. But definitely, nothing about this tells me that this was a one-man idea.
Was 119 of them, I think it was?
Yes, right. I believe so. Yeah. Nothing about this tells me that it was a one-man idea, and one man decided to just bell the cat. According to you, using your own theory, I think there was discussion among the rats. But as usual, one person has had to do it. One person has had to do it. And history will not sometimes reveal all the other cats in the room.
All the other rats in the room.
All the other rats in the room. All the other rats who say, you go and do it now. Use the one.
Oh, we come up and it over.
Okay. You've said it. But let me take this call. Let me hear this caller. Caller, good evening. It says connecting. I think she will connect shortly.
So we are adopting a more or less oversimplified approach, a more cursory approach to understanding, without all the antecedents, without all the history, without all the official information.
Yes,
we are really,
because it's very easy for us to focus on one man.
Yeah.
It is easy. That does make everything die. It dies a natural death when we say it's Stephen's fault. Stephen do it. Let me put Stephen in jail and whatever. This time Stephen had meetings with all kind of people. All kind of people promised to help him. All kind of people, because one thing that was coming out of the investigations post 1990 was about how many people that knew. This was a surprise to those of us who wanted to watch football.
Yeah, who was in Tobago?
And who was in Tobago and who was by the pal. Let me get this caller again. Caller, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, caller.
I don't know. I think it's Mr. Madison asked how many died of his men that he went in with, right?
Yes, he did.
Abu Bakr came out with his gun in head high with everybody that he went in with, right? And that is one thing he always say. Right? He came out. I don't know if you all ever watched the 1970.
Yes, prisoners, yes.
Everybody, Abu and every one of his people came out.
Okay.
There was even they even showed where he was telling him he could go now, you know. He said the other men were in Tetran or something. And they said, no, you can go, but he said, no, I'm not leaving here until my men, and he stayed in jail, right? Stayed in jail until with the men, because he could have gone home or gone anywhere. But he said, no, I'm not leaving without my men, right? And a lot of things you all are saying, I'll go back to Mr. Rollock. When the lion learns to speak, you have to get a story from the hunter. And you know what that story will be. Yeah. We kill everybody, or we kill them this, or we kill them, right? Yes. You have to, did you all ever see Abu Bakr interviews over the years? I'm not talking about now, all through the years.
Yes.
He was never afraid to speak. You all doing like it's a... And I want to ask Mr. Rollock, do you know... You saw his artillery. You know Abu's artillery. You knew about it, right?
Yes.
More than the police station, more than the Trinidad and Tobago police. You know that, right?
Yes.
You saw when he was coming out, when he talked about the coup in the Commission of Inquiry.
Yes.
He passed with all the guns in front of the police. Not known, hidden in the car. So they couldn't have searched. Everything was so dumb. Well, anyway, let me go and try and see if I could find the lion, could make him talk.
all right, thanks. Yeah, a lot of things when sometimes when you hear somebody tell a story, but when you listen to the story, you realize it has plenty more that they're not saying than what they're saying, Correct. So this gentleman, a religious leader, was so angry with the government that he get 119 people in secret. Because that's a lot of people to keep a secret from the government with. You understand? It's a lot of people. Good? And you heard issues about them being trained. You heard rumors of a Lebanese connection and all of these kind of different things. And then you tell me he came up with the idea on his own, and he was the only rat to bell the cat. That's not true. But are people from this story missing, and rightfully so. I understand, and conveniently so. There are too many people missing from this story, and that is the reason why I asked, what have we learned? Because for us to learn from the story,
is it the reason why it's now his story?
Right. You're correct. Because we heard the government side, which we know what will happen. Because the state is in charge of the business, the community, the city, or the buildings that were destroyed. The state has to tell that story. You don't expect the state to come out and say, well, we empathize with you. The state is the state. So we have heard that story. But then we have heard the story of Mr. Barker, and talking about conditions and what was going on at the time, and etc. and etc.
I heard an excerpt where he talked about how much he was able to suppress crime before 1990, what he was doing in communities to be able to do that.
Yes.
And what happened after, and we all know. I mean, it's not history. I mean, we live in it right
yes.
now. what's happening with crime and that kind of thing. So to some extent, he played a significant role in society. To if what was said then is true, he played a significant role in society in terms of, at the time, in terms of keeping crime and murders and that kind of thing at bay. Because to a large extent, what facilitated that was drugs. And at that time, a lot of drugs was passing through Trinidad and Tobago and staying. Not just, because I remember a long time, we had real coke addicts. And when I was a young boy, you had plenty coke addicts, people breaking in your house to get money to buy coke and that kind of thing. So you do have much of that now. Even if drugs are passing through Trinidad and Tobago as a transshipment, it's not really staying. What's staying is the residue, the guns and that kind of thing. But, which is even more dangerous.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, he would have did a lot, according to what he said, to either curtail it or to some way suppress it.
And all of that says to you that this is not the work of a vigilante. What you just said there says to me that this is calculated. His involvement was very measured. It was very purposeful. He did not have a Sunday school class and decide that I am going to on a war with drugs. Good? This song to be very well calculated, and I want to give the gentleman the benefit of the doubt and the credence that intelligence would demand. That he had support, and he would have done the honorable thing by not mentioning who his support was. But did he act alone? I don't think so. Caller, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I wanted to tell you the people who are missing. You said there are people missing from this story, right?
Yes.
Well. Do you want to know who?
Well, listen.
They are all. They are all dead.
Okay.
They are all dead.
Okay.
Right. So that's the end of the story. It's so old that they are all dead.
Yeah. We took so long.
You understand? And this was old at that time too.
Yeah. Yes.
You understand? So, Mr. Alec, let not your heart be troubled. Okay?
No problem. We took very long. This is 35 years after.
Yeah, so we just reviewing. I mean, because it's time, it's the birthday of that particular event.
Yes.
So we just looking at as a topic.
And as umpires do, we pull in back the tape.
We pull in back the tape and we analyzing the whole scene.
Yes.
To see what would have happened.
Is there something missing? Is there something we missed?
And what could have come out of it as a good for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
So this is good time that we do this at this time.
Because
not for nothing else.
Yes, because something was very, very spurious when we were listening, and if you have ever listened to the story and the account of who knew what, when they knew what. Now, you on the TV, you were the last to know. You saw the fire, you were also the last to know. Good?
I came back about almost 2 weeks after, and place was still burning and tongue, still that smoke. Yeah, I have pictures of that, but the day I came back to Trinidad was like around the 4th or the 5th of August. Because there was a time when you couldn't come back to Trinidad.
Yes.
Right? So I came back around the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, somewhere around the 7th of August kind of thing. And I remember being on Charlotte Street that morning when I came back. And place, they still see smoke and thing. I have pictures of that.
Yeah.
How Portisville, a certain part of Portisville was looking at that at that time. So a lot of destruction took place. And yeah, I think you asked a question earlier on. What about, so we deal with Abu Bakr,
yeah,
and to some he was a villain, to some he was a hero.
Yeah.
But what about the people who died?
Correct.
And their families and
Correct.
you know, that kind of thing. What about them? What they will have a different story to tell.
We didn't need to listen to no story to deal with those people.
Yeah.
We didn't need to have a trial to know Leo Devines and his family.
Yeah.
You know, That don't need a commission of inquiry. We didn't need the commission of inquiry to understand that the divers died. Their families would have been in some distress, and we need to act. Do you need what do you need to do that? And why? Why do we need anything to deal with that? Dominic Calipasad, Jones P. Madera. I mean, I remember seeing Jones P. Madera talk like he don't know what to say. Because, you know...
He was a big announcer in those days.
He was the man at the time.
Yeah, Dominic Calipasad, quite a few of them big announcers.
And he leave home to go to work. 35 years later, Jones P. Madera, who puts his life on the line to save our lives, died without any official recognition for his gallantry. Raul Pantin died psychologically compromised. Some others never recovered. If the authorities refuse to honor those civilians who stood up for democracy only after some annual insincere rhetoric, what's the point of rehashing hurtful memories? Praise the regiment, praise the police service, and all politicians who created an amnesty that helped the insurgents to go free. They deserve it. The history will be written without the workers' stories. We'll continue to move on with our lives and contribute to our beloved nation without their care. In the meantime, I am tired of this annual old talk.
Correct.
And often enough, to me, as I say, the bigger picture is that, you know, we know about restructuring, we know about retrenchment, we know about transfer of undertaking, and some people can't get in their heads why we are so concerned of what happened to the workers.
Because at the end of the day, when the elephant fight, the grass is trampled.
Correct.
Right? So at the end of the day, we had to look at this small man, look at all the persons that would have lost their jobs, all the persons who were directly in the crosshairs of that, right? How they and their families, right, would have been in some way compromised, in some way hurt, psychologically scarred. And all those things are things that, as a society, sometimes we have to deal with. And
you know, this is so funny. You know, we're thinking about it now. What happened when you were working for a store and it got burned down in the coop?
Yeah, and men who just get Superman strength, come and take your whole stock and trade it.
Yeah,
men, one man remember that whole fridge on the back.
Right. So the code done. Everybody arrested, everybody in jail or whatever, incarcerated. What's going on with you on your job? You're getting severance. You can't get severance. You can't get retrenchment and severance benefits. What do you get? What happened to the workers who lost their jobs during the coup?
And yeah, we always have to come back to that. That those are serious issues that, you know, with everything. Because society and economies are evolving things.
Yes.
And you need workers all the time, as well as you need people with capital. You need capital. And if you have one without the other, nothing going to work anyhow you take it.
Correct. So you have the capital and ArcelorMittal, and you come here and you make your money, and tomorrow you decide I'm going back. And Mr. Matheson has been working for you for 28 years. You just say, I gone, you know, Mr. Matheson, I gone, I can't handle here.
And you know, I know we time counting down. We had to go just now, but you see on another show, we had to deal with some of them kind of issues, because to me, what we need in Trinidad and Tobago is some legislative change in some of those very employment law or some of those very acts that were put in place to to provide relief for workers.
Yes.
They are in some way archaic.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe on the next show, we'll put the Minister of Labour in the wicket.
Yes.
And
because Lennox workers have a particular issue going on now.
Yeah, and we want to discuss those issues. I mean, maybe tomorrow.
Yes.
We could discuss some of those issues, because those things, in my opinion, are critical. And they affect people, they affect workers, and they also affect employers.
Yes, they affect employers too. We can't forget the employers.
Yeah.
So we're closing this innings today, and thank you for talking to us on 91.9 FM, the Third Empire. See you tomorrow. God spare life. Have a good evening.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street. 919 FM.